We're now at this place, which is the Hangzhou Southern Song Official Kiln Museum, located at number 69 Fu Road, Shangchong District, Hangzhou. This is the first ceramics museum in China built on the site of an ancient kiln, and it's also the only museum in China that was converted from an imperial kiln discovered to have been used by emperors. It's a specialised museum with ceramics as its main theme. Entering the Southern Song Official Kiln Museum is like stepping into a garden, unlike typical indoor-only museums. This garden-style site blends indoor relics with outdoor landscapes. 8 centuries ago, this was the Southern Song Imperial Kiln Factory, historically known as the Southern Song Official Kiln. It's a museum and a heritage site. Before we start the tour, let's first talk about the difference between folk kilns and official kilns. Folk kilns were run by ordinary people and were relatively free, allowing them to be creative within permitted limits. Basically, whatever I fire, you buy. There were first grade, second grade and third grade products. Official kilns, on the other hand, were different. The palace decided what was needed and you made exactly that. They only had first grade products. Anything else was considered defective. The main difference, though, was that these items couldn't be circulated among the general public or traded. That's what makes official kilns so unique and exclusive. Entering the hall, you'll see the words, "The Hometown of Celadon." China first invented porcelain, starting with Celadon. Half of China's ceramic history lies in Zhejiang. This is where mature porcelain, the Yue kiln Celadon, was first created. This first section shows excavated artifacts from various Zhejiang kilns, while the main area further inside focuses on finds from the Southern Song Official Kiln. The items displayed in this showcase are all artifacts from the Eastern Han to before the Tang Dynasty, each with its own unique features. Let me highlight a few important pieces for you. Take a look at this chicken head ewer. This is a famous craft which reached its peak during the Jin and Northern and Southern dynasties. In ancient China, there was a saying describing the ideal life: auspiciousness in all seasons, abundant harvests to the 5 grains, and thriving livestock. Shaping it like a chicken expresses the harmonious coexistence between people and animals. The chicken head ewer reached the height of its production during the Jin and the Northern and Southern dynasties. It was made mainly at 4 kiln sites in Zhejiang: the Yue kiln, the Wu kiln, the Wuzhou kiln, and the Deqing kiln. The decorative technique we see here is called diancai, spotted decoration. Look at the black dots around the mouth of this ewer. These aren't firing flaws, they were put there on purpose. The effect is like an ink wash painting, as if a scroll had been hung up on the surface. If the ink is applied a bit thicker, it naturally flows and moves, creating a unique technique. In the Museum of Oriental Ceramics in Osaka, Japan, there is a classic yuhuchun vase decorated with this same diancai technique, though that piece comes from a later period and is far more refined, while this one is an earlier and much plainer example. Let's have a look at 2 other very classic small pieces. But they really have a sense of everyday life. Take this bird-shaped whistle, for example. It looks ordinary enough. This is from the Tang Dynasty. Back then, only wealthy, well-off families could afford porcelain toys because firing porcelain required high temperatures. In ancient times, there was no gas or electricity, and it was very difficult to reach the high temperatures needed for porcelain, at least 1,200 degrees Celsius, using nothing but wood. So in ancient times, this was a high-end toy. Have a look at this powder box. Especially for women who love beauty, this powder box was a luxury item of the Tang Dynasty. Even with today's technology, it's still not guaranteed that this craftsmanship can be perfectly replicated in one go, because it's extremely difficult to make. The technique relies on an interlocking rim, and making a lidded vessel whose 2 halves close perfectly is one of the hardest things in the whole craft to master. Firstly, if you fire the pieces together, the glaze can drip down and seal the lid shut, making it impossible to open. If you fire them separately, each piece can warp and then they won't fit together. Some people might say that with gas and electricity these days, it should be easy to fire. Please keep this in mind. Technology can't change everything, it just makes firing relatively easier, not absolutely easy. You can raise the temperature and you can measure it and control it, but you cannot control the yaobian, the transformation that takes place inside the kiln. That's the charm of porcelain. Firing porcelain is about harmony between man and nature. Human skill accounts for half, and luck plays just as big a part. So remember, porcelain isn't just a household item, it's an offering from the earth, a song of human wisdom, and an art born from the fusion of fire and clay. When many people talk about Celadon, they mention the crackle glaze technique. Crackle glaze in Celadons is a unique style all its own. What's the principle behind it? It's due to the difference in the coefficient of thermal expansion between the glaze and the body during the high temperature firing and cooling process. It has a few important features. The first impression is that it looks cracked, but when you touch it, it's smooth, though there are some pieces where the cracks have broken through. The second feature is that no two crack patterns are the same, which is quite remarkable. The third point is that for a certain period after firing, new cracks can continue to appear, which is why it's called a living porcelain. The hall we are about to enter is the most important one in the Southern Song Official Kiln Museum. These pieces were fired for the Imperial Palace more than 800 years ago, rejected as substandard, smashed and buried here on site. They were excavated and restored 41 years ago. Let's take a look. What you see here are the pieces that failed to meet the palace's standards. We have restored them and put them back on display. They fall into three main categories: wares for daily use, wares for display, and wares for ritual. And in them you can see three kinds of beauty: the beauty of imperfection, the beauty of regret, and the beauty of stillness. The character of Southern Song Official Kiln porcelain can be summed up in 12 Chinese characters. First, the form, simple and natural, beautiful through restraint. Then the body and the glaze, like ice, like jade. And last, an archaic spirit. The shapes are drawn from the bronze vessels of high antiquity. There are many pieces, but we can't talk about each one, so let's focus on a few key items. This is one of the three classic vase forms of the Song dynasty, the paper-mallet vase. Its silhouette echoes the neck and shoulders of a human figure, a classic form built on the challenge of the straight line. The idea is this: the more pared back a thing is, the harder it is to make. The more pared back, the more beautiful. The more pared back, the more luxurious. You can really feel that in this porcelain, like ice resembling jade and carrying the spirit of high antiquity. This piece is a meiping, another of the three classic Song vase forms, and it is also known as the finest vase under heaven. It began life as the chicken leg vase, and in the Song dynasty it was reshaped into this form. It was filled with the finest wine, and inside the palace it was brought out when scripture was expounded, which is why in the Song dynasty it was called the jingping, the sutra vase. Once the wine was gone, the vase itself was far too beautiful to throw away. People tried arranging flowers in it, but the mouth was too small and the neck too short for large blooms. A spray or two of plum blossom, however, looked perfect, and that is how it came to be called the meiping, the plum vase. Before that, it was the sutra vase, used at the reading of the scriptures. Let's look at another classic porcelain vase called the yuhuchun vase. This one has a creamy yellow glaze. The whole shape is like an inverted heart. The open mouth is designed for wine. Fill it up, share a drink and a chat with mates, and open your heart. It reflects a state of mind. You're pouring wine, but savour in the mood. As the Tang poem puts it, if friends and family in Luoyang should ask after me, tell them my heart is a piece of ice in a jade pot. Looking at these old Celadon wares, they're all cold Celadon, but no two are the same shade. As mineral oxidation forms Celadon, they're never identical. Into the kiln, it's all the same, but it comes out multicoloured, each one unique. Visitors often say the official kilns were terribly extravagant, so much money spent, and anything imperfect smashed on the spot. Wasn't that a waste of labour and wealth? But the official kilns were never founded merely for utility or even for beauty. They stood for a spiritual culture and for the ideas of feng shui and the 5 elements. As the old Chinese saying goes, a home without jade lacks nobility. A room without porcelain lacks elegance. Wealthy families passed jade down through the generations and set porcelain out in their rooms to show refinement and to bring the household into harmony. So porcelain is not simply a bowl to eat from or a vase to admire, it is a form of culture and of spirit. Some tourists have also asked me, this Celadon looks so simple, so why is it so hard to make? So I tell them, what exactly is difficult? Surface complexity doesn't always mean difficulty, and simple things aren't necessarily easy to make. Aesthetically, true minimalism is beauty, difficulty, and the height of luxury. It's understated, so subtle it surpasses the ornate. Celadon looks simple, but is actually very hard to produce. Its complex process is often misunderstood. We just visited the ancient gallery where you feel history without being able to touch it. This hall is the contemporary Celadon exhibition hall, where we can get up close to Celadon works and appreciate their beauty. To show you the different sides of Celadon's appeal, I'd like to introduce a contemporary work made in the archaistic manner, a gui-style censer, modelled on the ancient bronze gui vessel. You can see that the whole design of this piece is simple and elegant. It's as clear as ice and as smooth as jade. It has the purple mouth and iron foot of classic Guan ware. The glaze surface is covered in crackle, and the remarkable thing is that although it looks cracked, it is perfectly smooth to the touch. That is part of its beauty. It's a contemporary piece, but it's also a truly beautiful work of art. Now, let's take a look at another contemporary piece from the Ru Kiln. This piece was made by a contemporary master from the Ru Kiln in Hangzhou, Henan. It features the classic sky blue glaze. The colour is like the sky clearing after rain, with clouds parting. This is the signature look of Ru Kiln. The first key point is that only pieces made in Hangzhou in Henan may be called Ru ware. Anything made elsewhere is imitation Ru ware, Fang Ru. The second feature is that agate is added to the glaze. The third is the incense ash body, a fine grey clay the colour of burnt incense. And the fourth is the firing method. The piece rests on small spurs in the kiln, leaving spur marks on the base. This one is the work of a contemporary master, and it is a classic form. This is the Ru Kiln 4-piece set. The originals are in the Palace Museum in Beijing, and this master has recreated them. This allows everyone to appreciate the unique beauty of different glazes. Next, I'd like to introduce another classic contemporary piece. This one is by Master Zhong Shi, a wood-firing expert from Longquan Kiln. It's called a peony vase, also known as a phoenix tail vase. The whole design is grand and minimalist. Now let's look at what a mineral glaze actually is. A mineral glaze is made by grinding natural minerals and blending them into a liquid. Its main characteristic is that when it is left standing, the water and the minerals separate, so you have to stir it before you use it. It then becomes a thick slurry. Remember this, a genuine natural mineral glaze always looks like this before it is applied and before firing. It is a slurry, and it is made of minerals, and minerals in themselves have no color. Color only appears after the chemical reaction that takes place at high temperature. Why is the appearance of each porcelain piece different? It's because the oxidation atmosphere varies. The amount of colouring agent also differs. Genuine mineral glaze must be left to dry before firing. How do you tell the difference? Just touch it by hand. If it feels like lime water or flour, that's real raw mineral glaze. This is the difference between mineral glaze and chemical glaze. Now, let me show you the basic steps of making porcelain by hand. The first step is kneading the clay. So this is kneading the clay. After kneading, we move on to throwing the clay, which is a fundamental step in handmade porcelain making.